Hello, everyone. I want to welcome all of you who are taking the time of your incredibly busy schedule to join us for this incredibly important time, for such a time as this. Now, I know that many of you are concerned about the future of the United Methodist Church, as well as you should be, but I think you should realize that almost all the mainline denominations in the United States are wondering about their future. I was just looking at some recent articles about other denominations, not to compare one way or the other, but just looking at statistics. PCUSA in 2022 lost almost 55,000 members. PCA, which is the breakoff of PCUSA, and they were a very fast-growing ministry for a time, in 2022 lost nearly 20,000 members. And the Southern Baptist Conference, even known as a very, very conservative denomination in the United States, in 2022 lost 500,000 members. Now, to be fair, they had over 13 million. And so everything is relative, but I think it's important for us to understand where we are as a country and what the climate is for ministry is for, at least in America. I do want to stress that one of the hopes that I would like you to walk away with is that I believe that there can be a very bright future within our denomination. And in fact, even before many people officially disaffiliated, one of my biggest prayers and my advice that I would give to not only my peers, but even those who were older than I was, I asked them and I begged them to remain. As some of you know, in 1 Timothy chapter 1, the goal of doctrine is to love. And I really believe that we have an opportunity for, as far as it goes with us, for us to remain committed to our commitments. And so the topic here that I've been asked is the future of the UMC, and I find that it's really interesting because when I first started the Kamnigyoe, to ask me to speak about the future, that made sense because I was 29, 30, I had just been ordained, but now I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm actually thinking about my retirement future and not my actual ministry future. But recently, I have been able to meet some incredibly talented and gifted young pastors who are Korean American, and they are serving mostly cross-culturally in the United Methodist Church. And a great many of them, I do feel, they are relatively disconnected. They go to their annual conferences, they're very dutiful, but by and large, they don't find this heart connection. And I know that the National Korean Caucus many decades ago, they experienced the same thing. And so part of my hope is that we would see the potential future not in dreams, but in practical ways in which we can make our future brighter. I think that when we talk about the values inherent to Methodism, there are three values that I want to highlight for all of us. They are the roots of Methodism. And I believe that if we return to those values, not to that time, but to those core Methodist values, I think that we will see traction in our own individual ministries, because I really still believe in the local church. I want to work with the denomination. I want to work at the conference level. I want to help all those things. But in the heart of hearts, I'm a local church pastor. If the things that we talk about and do don't help our local congregations, then I will tell you that it'll all be useless eventually. Because as many of you know, the health of the local churches determines the health of the conferences and the districts and so on. The first value that I want to highlight for us is that of pragmatism. You know that the birth of the Methodist Church, as a denomination, was a product of pragmatism. It was not a product of a theological debate. In fact, had it not been for the American Revolutionary War, Methodism would have been part of the Anglican revival. And we would not have a Methodist church in our history. And so I believe that ecclesiological root is important, because I think that even though now the United Methodist Church is kind of known as being rigid and it takes so long to do anything and to make many changes, the truth is that in our roots, we were Methodism was known for the ability to change ministerial strategies based upon the changing landscape of ministry context. So, for example, recently, I know that many churches are investing heavily on the fresh expressions movement around the world. But that is really a quintessentially Methodist movement, where ministry is brought out to where ministry is needed. And the focus is not necessarily on building the institutional church, but to bring Christ to where the people happen to be. And so that speaks of the pragmatic aspect of Methodism. And I would say that we need to return a little bit more to that. I think the second value, as I look into now, we've already well into this 21st century, but as we look into the mid 21st century, I believe that our root belief in social holiness is going to take center stage. We know that no other Christian denomination, mainstream Christian denomination, has an explicit articulation of holiness in such terms. Now, I did cite John Wesley in my transcript, but you may know it. But John Wesley said, "The gospel of Christ knows of no religion but social, no holiness but social holiness. Faith working by love is the length and breadth and depth and height of Christian perfection." And so I know that many of you are reading articles, and right now it's really trendy to hear the word social justice. So many people are talking about social justice. But long before that ever became a popular term, Wesley embedded social holiness into Methodism. And so we need to admit, though, as Reverend Hong mentioned, that there are some churches that are suspicious of social justice movements, and we've been rather slow. We've been really focused more on personal piety and personal holiness. But as I look around in the numerous cities around the United States, the United Methodist Church in a certain city is at the forefront of social concern and action. And so I believe that it's vital that we have a vital role to play in the future of America, not just United Methodist Church. We have really been called to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth, and so I do believe that the United Methodist Church has that critical role that it is currently playing. And I know many of you know this, but at the center of every major city right at the heart of that city is a United Methodist Church. Some of them are struggling for sure, but the potential is there for us to affect change. No other denomination, no other one has the actual infrastructure to bring about such huge changes in government, in law, in actual social action. And I think this also applies, although it's very subtle, but over the years, I've really come to see this as an actual very important need of the United Methodist Church. And that is the issue of racial and social equity. Again, no other mainline denomination has the actual infrastructure to bring about racial and gender reconciliation, particularly as it concerns congregational formation. And of course, it's done so by the mechanism of appointment. Let us be honest. There are some wonderful women clergy that finally get to lead a congregation only because we have the infrastructure of appointment within our bylaws. That's it. And only through the United Methodist Church, there's a certain Korean pastor able to lead a large metropolitan church. It's only by the mechanism that we have within our denomination where such important witness can take place. I have a lot of friends, believe me when I say this, I have a lot of friends in ministry, and they are generally in more conservative denominations. And their churches are doing well, and God bless them. But the reality is that they're completely blind. They're completely blind to the level of racism and the level of sexism that is prevalent within their own communities, because they never, ever have to deal with it. And I think that that is an important role that we have, or at least the witness that the United Methodist Church has. And this is something that I do believe that that it's worth staying and advocating for, because even as I say that the United Methodist Church has the mechanism to bring about greater gender and racial equity, it has not. If you look at all of the statistics that Reverend Chang showed, look at the number of Korean American clergy that's affiliated with the United Methodist Church in America right now. I heard in East New Jersey alone, 33% of the new clergy, they're Korean descent. And yet we now stand after the recent retirements, the last few years, we have one active bishop that's Korean American in the United Methodist Church in America anyway. And I think that this is something that needs to be addressed. And but if many of us just continue to leave, then we're not going to be here in order to forge a brighter future. And the last value that I would share with you, and why I am remaining, why I am staying in the United Methodist Church. And by the way, I would only stay if I believed in a bright tomorrow. I am never involved in anything that does not grow. I am telling you, I won't do it. The third value is that of our connectionalism. This very forum today is an example of our connectional system at work. I see that that we had over 500 registrants. Over 200 of you have come, and that is a wonderful thing. It also shows how many people don't do what they said that they were going to do. But anyway, it's an example of our connectional system. Despite the fact that we serve in so many different contexts and different time zones all around the world, we have the ability to come together as one. and it happens over and over again in different ways. The pressing needs of ministry, if you think about it, they're just too large. They're too great to do by yourself. I'm very happy with our local church, but there's no way that our church, no matter how great it becomes, can meet the needs of the world by ourselves. We need each other. And I just offer my own ministry as an example, just one example of the connectional system at work. Many of you know that I recently was planted to start a church in South Pasadena. It was a campus that had closed in 2012. But the denomination approved of a new church plant because South Pasadena has been my home for the last 30 years. And so we reopened up a campus that was closed. And actually behind me is my 교회. I don't know if you could see this, but this is my 본당. 이쁘죠? 너무 이쁘죠? This wonderful church that many saints really offered up their blood, sweat, and tears and resources to build was closed. And yet it was through this connectional system that a new church, new ministry was planted here. And now we are growing. I will share with you the good news that Renew is the very first newly chartered church in our North District of the CalPAC in over 30 years. And we officially chartered last year. And we were not only supported by the California Pacific Conference as a new ministry, but the Korean Ministry Plan also designated us as a new ministry, and they helped launch our ministry. And in fact, this last year, they helped launch our new youth ministry that we started. This is an example of the connectional system. What happened at Renew, really, it would be hard to imagine happening without our connectional system at work. No matter how gifted I am there in ministry, there was no way that the things that we are doing currently here in South Pasadena that I could have done. There's no way. We are working in building close to 100 new affordable housing units here. We are integrated into the city governance and a chamber of commerce here. All of these things can only take place, in my opinion, could only have taken place with the connectional system of the United Methodist Church. And so my hope and prayer and work these days is to strengthen this system in great measure through Nexus. Now, Nexus, when we first launched Nexus, it was supposed to really be a bridge to from between first and second generation, and we still want that role. But now, what we've really realized is that Nexus has a prominent role in making a bridge between Korean American ministries and ministers and the UMC, the greater connection. And so that we will truly be connected and that the connection will be effective and just. Because currently, a lot of our Korean American ministers and ministries do feel disconnected from each other and also from the wider United Methodist Church. And I will tell you that this is my own personal grievance and my own personal belief. I believe that had the greater United Methodist Church been in greater connection and better communication with the Korean American ministries and ministers many, many years ago, then we would have lost far less members. That's my own personal conviction, and only God will ever know. But we cannot change the past. But I am talking about building a more healthy future. And I believe that the lived out reality of Methodism's roots of pragmatism, social holiness, and connectionalism. They are the keys to a more prosperous United Methodist Church in the future, to the glory of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. 감사합니다.